If you're an indie filmmaker, you've probably heard people in the industry talk about deal memos and how you should prepare one for every member at your cast and crew. A lot of people, even experienced people in the indie film business, are confused about what deal memos are. They'll ask me questions like, okay, I've got a contract for everybody who's working on my film, but do I also need a deal memo? And the answer to that question is usually no, because a deal memo is normally just used to mean a contract, particularly in the context of independent productions. So let's go into more detail about why this is. In studio productions and in higher budget indie productions, I suppose, a deal memo is a short form contract that production companies and people who are working on the film sign because they want to put the essential terms of their deal in writing, but they intend in the future to draft a longer form agreement that's going to include more of the legal bells and whistles, that is, try to cover all of the legal bases. In other words, the long form contract that they draft will replace the deal memo. They sign the deal memo basically because they want to get a deal done quickly, and then they'll let their attorneys deal with the specifics of the arrangement later on. Sometimes the longer form contract doesn't get drafted at all, including sometimes on productions with surprisingly high budgets, and the parties just end up relying on the deal memo. But the goal, at least at the time that these big budget productions draft a deal memo, is to draft a long form contract that incorporates and supersedes the deal memo. So for example, if you're a production company with a high budget project and you want to make sure you've got a deal locked in with an actor quickly, you might sign a 2 or 3 page deal memo with them that has the key terms of the arrangement that you've negotiated, like the rate of pay, the days when they'll be working on your film, the credit they'll get in the film, and things of that nature. But later, the lawyers for the parties will negotiate and draft a much longer agreement that covers lots more issues, like, say, the dimensions of the trailer that the actor will get, their hotel accommodations, payment for the glam squad that does their hair and makeup, and things of that nature. Here's an example of one of those long-form agreements. This was prepared by a publicly traded production company, so I didn't draft this agreement, but I'm just using this again as an example. Here you've got a clause that has to do with the performer's merchandising rights, another one that has to do with what happens to the performer's compensation if the producer enters an agreement with a union, another one that has very long definitions of what constitutes a disability or a default under the agreement, and so on and on. But at the low budget film level, which is the level at which I think a lot of people who are watching this are operating, the term deal memo is just another way of saying the contract. That is, the cast and crew of a low budget indie film may sign a document that's labeled a deal memo, but there's no expectation that the production company is going to go out and hire lawyers to draft, a 20 to 50 page long agreement that deals with every possible contingency. Sometimes these indie film deal memos are just 2 pages long, like this one prepared by volunteer lawyers for the arts. I didn't draft this document, and I'm not recommending that you use it, but I'm just showing you how short and simple these can be. So if you're producing a low budget indie production and somebody says to you, okay, I signed your contract, but can you send me a deal memo? That usually just means that they're confused because the deal memo and the contract for the purposes of your production are the same thing. So I hope that this was helpful or at least interesting. If you found this useful, please like this video and subscribe to this channel so I can keep bringing this kind of educational content to enterprising creatives like yourself. And of course, what I've just said is not legal advice, because to give you legal advice, I would have to understand your specific situation and your specific needs. But for now, I'm just a lawyer talking about the law on the internet. Thanks for watching.